Well, the Essex Rural Commission has been set up to have a new think really about what we can do about rural Essex and coastal Essex over something like a 25-year period. So we're all facing problems across the whole of East Anglia. Big changes are going to be upon us, whether it's climate change, changes in the economy or development pressures. So putting those all in the mix, what sorts of things do we need to do to start to make lives better for people in rural Essex? And I think that's our core agenda really for the Commission. Well, I think they're manifold. There are all sorts of challenges. There are challenges for communities that have large numbers of people commuting and spending most of their time travelling into London and coming back, and therefore not having much time to volunteer in the village, for example. Almost all villages are facing challenges for affordable housing. Young families can't afford to live in the community, and yet you need young people with jobs to have young children, to make sure there are enough children in the school. So these things all kind of connect together, and we're going to be looking at them all of a piece really. I suspect they might be somewhat larger because people need, mostly in rural areas, to rely on their own forms of transport because public transport is not great and fuel prices are high. So in a sense, if you're in a remote area or a rural area, you're likely to be hit by fuel prices more than if you live in a town. So there are some specific challenges. And of course, rural areas are very often very beautiful and very attractive and very nice, and because they're desirable, house prices can be high. So somehow one has to break what appear to be kind of normal cycles with some new thinking about what we can do to make places vibrant for the whole of the community. Well, we can do anything in as much as that Essex County Council has a huge budget, more than £2 billion a year. It makes it larger than 136 countries of the world, so it has a lot of economic power. That money, of course, is devoted to all sorts of things, but they can put some of that money behind new ideas. If, for example, we were going to build a new community, and there are very large numbers of houses planned to be built in each of the counties of this region, whether they will or not, we'll have to wait and see. But if you're going to build a new community, why not have a community heat and power scheme to make sure that the electricity and power is generated locally, the heat is generated locally, brings down energy prices for people, all sorts of benefits. But somebody's got to say, this is quite a good idea, and then put the money behind it, and then it pays off over a period of time. Well, I wouldn't be doing it if it was just a talking shop. It's not worth just sitting around and chatting and coming up with some kind of rather vague ideas. This Commission is going to hear evidence from a large number of people. We're going to be thinking seriously about the future of Essex. We'd like the report to be relevant to Essex, but also for counties elsewhere in the country to say, well, that's quite good, what they've done there, that's quite bright. Why don't we do something similar? Whether the process is the same or not, I'm not concerned with that, but we need to pick some good ideas out that can run forward over this next generation is really what we're looking at. There are ideas, but I think it'd be wrong for me to start to suggest priorities at this stage, because there are all sorts of different priorities, and to say that there's one more important than another one at this stage I think would be wrong, because we've got to hear the evidence and deliberate amongst ourselves. We are an independent group, we're not beholden to anybody, and so because of that I think we're going to be able to think whatever we want to think, do the right things.